Hello, my name is Eric Schansberg, running for U.S. Congress in the Republican primary in May. Probably the most important thing to know about me is I'm an economics professor. I've been at IU Southeast for almost 30 years now. I've thought, written, taught on public policy for a long time, and it's really important to me. And as I like to joke, it's kind of sad, but maybe we could use a little more econ in D.C. these days. I've been married to my wife Tanya for 26 years. We have 4 young men. We like to say we're trying to raise a few good men, but they're 17 to 23 now, so we've moved more into the coaching phase of those things. We have 2 by adoption and 2 the more conventional way. I also serve on the board of Brandon's House, been there about 25 years. Right across the street from the high school, we provide free master's level counseling for teens and their families, and so it's a really important thing all the time, but especially the last few years with COVID and all the other trouble we've had the last few years. In terms of the race, the biggest issues again are economics. We have debt, we have inflation, we have a range of other things that don't get nearly as much attention, but I just think it's important to have someone who knows a lot about economics in DC, not just to be a vote, but to be a voice on these things, to be persuasive and compelling among the legislators and talking through these issues. I'm also strong in the Constitution. As a Republican, going to be strong in the Second Amendment. I also emphasize the First Amendment, which has taken a beating the last few years, freedom of speech. The last decade or so with cancel culture, we've got to push back against that. Freedom of religion during COVID. So the First Amendment is really important. And then the 10th Amendment, which is about federalism and the levels of government that are involved. People have lots of good ideas. They have some decent ideas about government many times, but they shouldn't be federal government ideas. They should be at the state or local level. A couple of examples here, kids have had to wear masks on school buses during COVID, but that's not a local decision. That's a federal government decision. The federal government shouldn't be making that decision. In terms of election law, the federal government shouldn't be telling Indiana how to run election law. So I will never get tired of saying, hey, that may be a great idea, but it's not the role of the federal government to do those things. I think the last thing is just to be a compelling and civil voice in DC. There's been a ton of rhetoric, a ton of people pursuing power for its own purposes instead of good policy, a lot of shouting at each other. We've got to do better in terms of dialogue. And so I'm passionate about these issues, but it's important to be knowledgeable, compelling, and civil in our dialogue, and I hope to bring that to DC as well. So I appreciate your time watching this. I'd be thankful for your support and your consideration. The website is ericforcongress.org, and I'd be thankful for your support.